Don't turn around. I can help you. Keep taking out money. That minivan to my left, that yours?
Now that Reacher Season 3 has wrapped up, it's pretty clear why Duffy could easily make a comeback in the upcoming Neagley spin-off. With Reacher Season 4 already confirmed and the Neagley series on its way, there's a lot to look forward to for fans of the franchise. The big mystery is which book Reacher Season 4 will adapt, but Neagley's show already sounds pretty exciting since it'll be telling a completely original story. Because this spin-off isn't directly adapting Lee Child's books, it doesn't have to follow the same rules as Reacher's story. That gives it a lot more freedom to bring back familiar faces and weave a more interconnected narrative across multiple seasons. Instead of just being a side project, this could actually turn into something just as compelling as the main series, especially if it keeps bringing in characters we already know and love. Duffy's exit from the DEA in Reacher Season 3's finale really sets her up perfectly for the spin-off. By the end of the season, she decides to step back and figure out her next move. Plus, since the ATF's head already warned her that he'd report her for mishandling the Quinn case, it doesn't seem likely she'd go back to working as a DEA agent. Reacher seems to pick up on this too, which is why he asks her what she plans to do next. At first, Duffy doesn't have a clear answer, so Reacher suggests she connect with some private investigators he knows. She turns down the idea at the time, saying she just wants a break, but let's be real, she's not the type to stay away from action for too long. Once she's ready to jump back in, she could take Reacher up on his offer, and since Neagley runs her own PI business, it would make perfect sense for Duffy to join her team in the spin-off. Neagley's show also has a great opportunity to bring back other popular Reacher characters. Unlike Reacher, Neagley actually keeps in touch with people. In Season 2, Reacher was pretty surprised to find out that the former members of his 110th Special Investigations Unit still know what's going on in each other's lives. Neagley had to remind him that not everyone isolates themselves like he does. Since this has already been established in the main series, the spin-off could naturally include some reunions with familiar faces. Given how much history Neagley has with the special investigators and how often they've worked together, it wouldn't be surprising if she called in some old allies for help on a mission. This could pave the way for the return of Carla Dixon and David O'Donnell. After seeing Duffy in action in Season 3, Neagley also knows she's a capable and reliable enforcer, so if a case ever brings her near Maine, she might reach out to Duffy for backup. One of the biggest missed opportunities in Reacher Season 3 was not fully exploring the dynamic between Duffy and Neagley. The two of them barely had any screen time together, only really sharing a few moments during the final showdown at Zachary Beck's mansion. But the spin-off could fix that. Both of them are strong, no-nonsense characters who approach crime-solving in similar ways, and pairing them up could make for a really fun and dynamic partnership. Duffy and Neagley both have a strong sense of justice and are willing to put themselves in danger to protect innocent people, like Teresa. But while they have a lot in common, there are also key differences that could make their team-up even more interesting. Neagley is more ruthless and combat-ready thanks to her military police background, while Duffy prefers to stick to the rules. In Season 3, Duffy was clearly frustrated when Reacher killed people unnecessarily, whereas Neagley doesn't seem to have a problem with doing whatever it takes to get the job done. This contrast could create a compelling buddy cop dynamic in the spin-off. Beyond just Duffy, the Neagley spin-off has the potential to bring back even more Reacher characters. It would probably make sense for the first season to focus mostly on Neagley and establish her solo missions, but once that's done, later seasons could bring in some of Reacher's old allies. Since Neagley trusts David O'Donnell, Carla Dixon, and Reacher more than almost anyone else, there's a good chance they'll pop up in some capacity. And it's not just the special investigators who could return, there's also Finley. He had a small cameo in Reacher Season 2, so it wouldn't be a stretch for him to show up in Neagley's world. If she ever takes on a case in Margrave, she might even cross paths with Roscoe, which would be a great way to bring back a beloved Season 1 character. But even with all these possibilities, it really seems like the show is setting up at least one major team-up between Neagley and Duffy. Another major difference between Neagley and Reacher is their relationship with technology. Reacher barely even owns a phone, let alone uses computers unless absolutely necessary. He's pretty much a technophobe, and that's something the books emphasize a lot. The show version of Reacher is slightly more open to it, but he still avoids it as much as possible. Neagley, on the other hand, is the complete opposite. One scene in Reacher Season 3 really highlights this difference. When Neagley confronts a guy who sent assassins after her, he doesn't take her threat seriously. But then she tells him she's created a program that makes it look like she's online shopping, so she could shoot him right there in broad daylight, and it would seem like she was nowhere near the crime scene. That's the kind of strategy Reacher would never think of, and it really sets Neagley apart. Neagley is also a bit of a nerd. She's been seen gaming online as part of a case, which is something Reacher would never do. Unlike him, she actually has a home base in Chicago instead of wandering around all the time. This means her show will likely have a different feel from Reacher's, blending action, mystery, and humor while also exploring her life outside the 110th Special Investigators. Another thing that will set Neagley's show apart is its setting. Reacher tends to punch his way out of trouble, which makes sense given his size and skill set, but most of the people around him don't operate that way, including Neagley. A great example of this is a scene in Season 3 where two assassins break into her office. Instead of just fighting them head-on, she uses stealth and trickery, like remotely turning on a printer, to gain the upper hand. It's a much more strategic approach compared to Reacher's brute force, and it hints at how her show will be different. Considering Neagley Spin-off will be set in Chicago, it makes sense that it will have a more modern and urban feel compared to Reacher's more rural, on-the-road vibe. Plus, this could be a great chance to explore more of her personal life, including her relationship with her father and her other connections in the city. At the end of the day, for the spin-off to succeed, it needs to establish its own identity rather than feeling like a lesser version of Reacher. Fans already know and love Neagley, but now's the time to really dive into her character beyond just how she relates to Reacher. Both the books and the show have hinted at interesting aspects of her life, like her aromantic nature, that haven't been fully explored yet. Reacher Season 3 almost felt like a teaser for how Neagley's character would work in her own show. Assuming the new series has a strong storyline and compelling characters, it has the potential to be really successful. And of course, the fact that Richardson is likely locked in for a cameo as Reacher will help. The real trick will be making sure his appearance is just a fun bonus rather than something the audience is desperately waiting for. If Neagley's show can stand on its own, it could be a fantastic addition to the Reacher universe. And that's what we have to say about upcoming show. Thanks for watching, and we will see you in the next one.